Thank you very much, Luis, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Ningning Zhang from RWTH Aachen University in Germany. And today I'm going to give a talk with the title of Bio-Inspired Self-Boring Proof in Shallow Granular Materials. I have changed the title a little bit in order to better align with the theme of the workshop. Okay, so in this presentation, you will see the creation and performance of a bio-inspired self-boring robotic probe in granular materials using the discrete element method. So basically in this presentation, you will see how a probe that is able to do self-boring inspired by biology, by animals, is created. So yeah, self-boring means that self-boring probe means that the probe can go into the soil by itself without any connections with external resources. And also in this presentation, you will see how the granular material, which is sand in this case, is simulated using the discrete element method. And in the end, you will see the performance of the self-boring probe and also some engineering implications. Okay. So as geotechnical engineers, we have to go into the soil, even it's very dirty, but we have to do that. We have no choice. And clearly, our ancestors are clever enough to invent diverse apparatus to go under the ground. And we take the example of in-situ testing methods. So here you can see there are already quite many in-situ testing methods that have been invented and applied, such as CPT, SPT, and many others, as summarized here by Manner et al. In 2009. And the journey of going into the ground doesn't stop, and it continues. In very recent years, borrowing mechanism inspired by razor claims have attracted particular attention of researchers to develop a new generation of self-boring probes. And so here you see this is a razor claim, the animal that inspired the researchers to develop a new generation of self-boring probe. And you may think that the world of biology is very complex and mysterious, but actually the boring mechanism of claims is very simple, as illustrated by this diagram here. So a claim body contains a shaft and a tip. And at the beginning of boring, the shaft expands to form an anchor so that the tip can penetrate deeper into the soil. And then afterwards, the tip expands to form another anchor, and also the shaft contracts back to its original size so that it can be dragged downwards with the help of the tip anchor. So this is the self-boring mechanism of claims. It looks quite simple and straightforward. And based on the self-boring mechanism, we design a self-boring probe. Yeah, here you see the profile of the probe. It contains a shaft in this green part here, a tip cylinder, this blue part here, a tip coin, a neck that connects the shaft and the tip, and also one embedment that extends into the shaft. So this is the initial configuration of the probe, and now self-boring starts. So in the first step, which is a shaft expansion, the shaft just expands readily to form one anchor. And then in the next step, the tip will penetrate into the soil with the help of this shaft anchor here through a distance of delta so tip. And then in the next, the tip will expand to form another anchor. In the next, the shaft contraction in step D, shaft contracting the shaft will just contract back to its original size. And then in the next step, shaft retracting, the shaft is retracted downwards through a distance of delta zo shaft, which is equal to delta zo tip, this penetration distance obtained in step B. And then in the last step, the tip just needs to contract back to its original size. So this is the these are all the self-burrowing steps involved in one self-burrowing cycle. And in the next, we can already insert this proof into the soil, and just let the proof go into the soil autonomously. A bit about the soil sample. So we use discrete element methods to simulate mechanical properties of Fontainebleau sand, which is acidic sand, and contact parameters of Fontainebleau sand were calibrated against element tests, such as odometer test of Fontainebleau sand. A multi-scaling technique is applied here to generate the soil sample. Multi-scaling means that gradually increasing scaling factors are applied to upscale the particles from the central area to the outer areas. And also the surface is, the top surface of the soil sample is set free to simulate shallow ground conditions, and then gravity is applied to settle the soil particles. In the end, the soil, the sample quality needs to be checked in order to ensure that the sample is uniform. Okay. When it comes to soil robot interaction, 1 or 2 checking criteria are required in each step of the self-burrowing cycle, as you can see here. For instance, during shaft expansion, a target force must be reached based on the soil strength around the shaft, as defined by this C1 criteria. And also another example is that during shaft retraction, the retracted distance must be equal to this penetration distance during tip penetration as defined by this criteria C8 here. Among all these checking criteria, the most important one is C3, which defines the relationship between shaft anchorage force and the tip resisting force. Yeah, so this means the shaft anchorage during tip penetration during this step, the shaft anchorage force must be greater than the tip resisting force. Otherwise, penetration must stop immediately. Okay, so we tried with a quasi-static tip penetration without adding any measures to reduce tip resistance. Here is what we obtained. So this FSA, the shaft anchorage force, is maintained constant, and this tip resisting force during penetration rises very quickly to meet the C3 criteria after only 0.06 centimeter, which is very negligible. Yeah, this is this magnitude is just too small. And then what we can do, we definitely need to increase the tip penetration distance. And we got inspired by another species, which is Polycheta. Polycheta employs a bidirectional tip oscillation strategy to reduce tip penetration during locomotion in the soils. And so we employ a similar strategy to reduce tip resistance. Here is basically how it works. The tip oscillates to the left and to the right. And then with this strategy, we run the tip penetration again. Now penetration distance of 2 centimeters can be obtained, which is sufficiently enough for deep penetration distance in one single self-boring cycle. Okay. And with one complete self-boring cycle with all the steps and fulfilling all the criteria, of course. So from this very short video, we see how it works. So first the shaft expands to form an anchor, then the tip oscillates to the left and right. In the meantime, the embedment also extends out of the shaft. Okay, and after a couple of oscillations, and then the tip expands to form another anchor, and now the shaft contracts back to its original size, and now the shaft is dragged downwards. Okay, so through the displacement curve, we see 2 centimeter penetration distance was obtained through tip penetration, and then this distance is fully recovered during shaft retraction. This is a step here. Macromechanical observations such as contact force network and particle displacement can provide us very insightful observations in soil-robot interaction. For instance, after shaft expansion, the first step, the contact force concentrates along the shaft, while after tip expansion, the contact force concentration shifts from the shaft to the tip. Okay, and then we could run the single self-boring cycle a couple of times more. So we run 3 times the self-boring cycle. Here you see the displacement. In the first cycle, a distance of 2 centimeter was obtained, and then in the second cycle, the distance now increases to 3.5 centimeter, and in the third cycle, the distance increases to 4 centimeter. So here we see there's an increase of displacement with cycles. This is because with the increase of soil depth, when the probe goes deeper into the soil, more anchorage force can be mobilized to provide, to be provided for tip penetration. In terms of energy calculation, so the work done by all the steps in self-boring is compared with one quasi-static penetration. So here we see actually the total energy required in self-boring is slightly greater than the quasi-static case, mainly because of the 3 rises here, which come from the expansion behaviors in self-boring. Okay, a bit about some engineering implications. What this proof can be used for. Here, 3 examples. The first one is this proof can facilitate economical cone penetration test. So imagine that if anchors are installed on CPT rules, then the reaction force required to reach the same depth is less compared with the conventional CPT. Okay, so with the help of these anchors, engineers now no longer need to drive a truck into the field. Probably one small car would be enough already. The second implication is that this proof can be used for sensor deployment in locations with limited access. And then the third implication is that this proof can be used in space soil exploration. We need to know the soil conditions in other planets in some soil space exploration missions. To summarize this study, so in this study, a bio-inspired self-boring probe is created, and the proof is successfully tested in Fontainebleau sand analog using the discrete element method. Tip selection strategy was used to reduce tip resistance so that a longer penetration distance was obtained. The self-boring proof has aspiring engineering implications such as sensor deployment and space exploration. There's still some future work to do, so we need to carry out more study to understand the effects of more soil conditions such as density and gravity. The investigation of gravity effects is very meaningful to understand the potential possibility of employing the proof in space exploration missions. And also strategies with less or no soil disturbance in tip penetration would be employed, such as rotation. And with these strategies, we expect that soil properties can be reflected reliably from this proof. And based on the understanding of the DEM results, and we would also start to manufacture a self-boring robot in the lab in the short future. Okay, and last but not least, I would acknowledge the supervision of Professor Fuentes and also Professor Martinez throughout the study. And I would also acknowledge Dr. Chen for the collaborative work in the development of the self-boring proof. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I would be happy to take questions.